Hey, Cider Crusaders. The other day on Facebook, I put something about one of our parenting philosophies, and it got a lot of reaction. So I just wanted to share it here again. We didn't come up with it, but the sentence is, "Don't prepare the way for the child. Prepare the child for the way." So the first way would be to prepare the way for the child. So get rid of all the obstacles, make life super comfortable, make it as easy as possible for your kid, right? That's preparing the way for the child. We prefer to prepare the child, prepare Jack. Jack's 15 months, our baby girl a couple weeks away. But we prepare Jack, right? Make him resilient, persevere, brave, courageous. We want to prepare Jack for the way, for life, for the difficulties of life that are inevitable. So two different philosophies. We prefer the latter. Just an example of that. Went to a park the other day with some friends. It's a park in the safest neighborhood in the country. And I was letting Jack, again, he's 15 months, sort of just walk across the grass in the park down to the other side. It was maybe, I don't know, 20 yards away. And the guy I was with asked why I'm letting him walk so far away, and wasn't I concerned that something bad could happen? No, I wasn't. I mean, I was watching, I was aware, I was looking, but I want him to be able to exist without me standing right behind him. Right? I want him to be able to look up and look behind him or around him and not see me and know that it's okay, because it is okay. Now, I'm not abandoning him. Every once in a while, I'll run up to him and surprise him, and I will be right there. But he needs to know also that if I'm not there, it's fine. I just think that's one example of that. About 10 years ago, there was a parent who let her 9-year-old ride the New York City subway alone. And she got in really big trouble for that. The kid begged her. He wanted a sense of adventure and independence. Like all boys do, all kids do, but especially boys. So she started this free-range parenting movement, if you want to give it a name or whatever, after, Child Protective Services investigated her. And remember that there were parents, this was a couple years ago, I think in Maryland, who got their kids taken away from them for letting them walk to school. I don't have the numbers on me, I'll put it in the comment section, but it's something like a generation ago, 70% of kids walked to school, and now it's 10% of kids. I want to tell the story of the Abernathy Boys. They lived in Oklahoma, it was 100 years ago, and they begged their dad to let them ride on horseback from Oklahoma to Santa Fe, New Mexico. And his dad finally let him. The oldest Abernathy brother was 9, and the youngest was 5. Could you imagine? I don't think there's many parents today who would let a 9 or a 5-year-old on a horse, let alone without supervision, let alone across states. 9 and 5. Oh, things were different back then. Yeah, worse probably, like way more dangerous. They encountered sandstorms, hail, wolves. They got sick along the way, but they made it back alive and happy. The next year, they asked Dad to ride from Oklahoma to meet Teddy Roosevelt's ship that was coming in New York City. Dad let him go. 2.5 months. 1,000 miles later, the boys arrived and greeted the former president in New York City. Then the boys decided to kick it up a notch, and they wanted to ride in a car. This was before their dad ever drove in a car, and at the ages of 14 and 9, they rode from New York to San Francisco in a car over 62 days. This was 1913. They didn't do any more exploits after that. They were good. But they learned some incredible lessons that I think our kids need to learn today. This is what the older brother grew up to say. He said, "We learn to look a man in the eye and judge him by the grasp of his hand. Wealth and education aren't as important as the way a man approaches life, and we came to appreciate a willingness to help others." Perfect. Geography came alive for us. Each trip was an expedition of discovery. I learned all the cities, the states, and the capitals. We saw everything from lead mines in operation to oil wells being drilled. He goes on, talks about how he learned to be a good citizen and a good neighbor. And I love this right here. This is what I want Jack so much to learn. We learned to endure hardship with patience. And our trials in the desert seemed to test us more than we could bear. But we made it through, stronger for having held on. We discovered, do almost anything we set our minds to. Awesome. Look at the life lessons that these boys learned. Now, I'm not ready to throw my 15-month-old in the back of a horse and let him ride to Denver. but we can't let them run to the other side of the park. Bravery and independence. If our kids don't learn that, if they don't have these characteristics, I don't know that they can make a drastic difference in the world. Now, we got to be smart, of course, but let's consider the trade-off when we try to give our kids too much comfort, and if that comes at the expense of all the life lessons the Abernathy Boys learned, and at the expense of everything that your kids can learn with adventure.